So then I got in there just grinding, door knocking, and I have my realtor hat on 100% of the time. Then I start selling 10 homes, 20 homes a year, 25 homes a year. And I'm like, dude, I'm not rich yet. What's going on? Like shit. Now I live in a really nice crib, which I don't count as one of the 51 doors. I have crazy views to the ocean. I mean, people walk in this house and they're just like, what? I travel 2 to 3 months out the year. I go on vacation for 30 days at a time. I live one of the best lives that I know.
You guys, welcome back to the Let It Up podcast. If you're new to this channel and you want to know everything there is about making money in real estate, selling, sales skills, building your business, or investing, then subscribe below, tap the bell for notifications so you can be the first to know what makes our great guests so successful.
Yep. Let's talk about adding leverage. So we've been getting a lot of calls of people asking us how we've hired virtual assistants to scale and leverage our business. So we've opened up our playbook to all of you. If you're looking to add leverage in your business, whether it's administrative support, ISA, outbound callers, go to addleverage.com and they'll be there to help you staffing your team.
Today we have Voltaire Lepe. Voltaire, thank you so much for spending some time with us.
Hey, what's up? It's my pleasure, all the way from San Diego. Thanks for having me on.
We're excited, man. I thought that Voltaire would be a great contributor to the platform because he is also a fellow EXP agent. And I had seen him do a presentation on, I guess I should take a step back for a second. There's so many realtors out there that are making money in real estate, obviously through commissions, but then they're not necessarily sure what they should do investment wise. And I thought you've done a great job at not only investing your own money in real estate and building a portfolio. You own how many doors now?
51 doors in San Diego.
51 doors in San Diego. And you've been able to refinance, pull that money out, buy other assets, and just keep building that portfolio. So that was why I thought you'd be a great contributor here.
Yeah, thank you, man. I'm excited to share. And that way, hopefully other agents just maybe even understand that it's possible and then they could do it for themselves as well.
Yeah, I think I've watched that episode 2 or 3 times. So we're going to do that times 10. Let's roll.
Let's do it. But first, lightning round.
Audio Jungle. All right, so we're going to hit you with some questions here, Voltaire. You ready, buddy?
Okay. I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right. What do you regret not doing when you were younger?
Traveling. I regret not just 20-year-old, 22-year-old just getting out of San Diego, out of the U.S. and just traveling, man, just learning. I think that's how we grow, just going out, learning with different cultures, different people. Everyone has a different mindset. And then some countries are ahead of us, way ahead of us. And so I would have gone, learned, brought some of those things back here, made some more money.
Right. Now, I know your story is a good one. We're going to let you get to that. And you grew up in the hood. That was your term, not mine. So did you have money to travel at 22 and you just didn't do it? Or were you still just getting off the ground back then?
I started real estate, so I had a little bit of money, but yeah, I would have started earlier because, I was an agent making 6 figures a year. But I mean, overall, even if I was broke, I would tell myself, just go. Yeah. It doesn't matter. You figure it out. You get a job. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. You could have strapped the backpack on and gone to some hostels and stuff, right?
I still stay.
Kiro makes the big bucks and he still travels with a backpack.
Wait, question for you then. If you knew that you could have done that, why didn't you do it though?
No, I mean, back then I had no clue that there is travel.
Got it.
Yeah. So when I started traveling, when I was maybe 25, 26, that's when I was like, what? Like people backpack and they go away for 6 months. Like, this is cool, and then you learn. So I didn't know that. But if somebody would have told me to do it, then I would have known and maybe done it. But the same thing with college, right? People go to college for that reason, because you go, you discover yourself, you learn new friends, you're away from home. There's no comfort zone. But I never went to college, just high school. So I didn't know about that.
Got it.
Love it.
All right, next question. Who had the most influence on you growing up?
My grandfather, man. My grandfather was a beast. He was like, let's say, a real man, right? The beauty about being raised by someone his age is most people have the benefit of a parent or two that are in their 20s, maybe 30s. But this is a 50-something, 60-something-year-old man raising me my entire life. So imagine all that wisdom, because he had raised his kids. So he messed up in his 20s, his 30s, his 40s, his 50s, into his 60s. So now he gave me all that knowledge. So that was like amazing for me. So most influential person, hands down, him.
Yeah. Was he in real estate?
Nah, man. He was a taxi driver, a bus driver. So he considered himself an entrepreneur, just like his brothers, just because, he would lease the taxi cab, or he ended up buying his own bus, and then he would just charge per trip. So if he wanted to work a lot, he made more money, work less, make less money. So
yeah,
that's what he did.
Great. What's one lesson that sticks with you from him?
Man, he gave me so many, but every day he would hug me and kiss me and tell me he loved me, right? Every single day he would tell me positive things. So always being positive and telling people you love them, that goes a long way, even though you don't have much, but you have love, you have positivity, that goes a super long way. The second thing that just popped in my head, he would always tell me, Voltaire, there's nothing better than having your five senses. And I would always just be like, okay, nothing better than having your five senses. But as I got older, I knew what he was telling me. He said, hey man, no drinking, no eating, like, no smoking, drugs. Like, you don't need that. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you have your five senses, that's the most beautiful thing there is in life. And also being present in your five senses. So he would tell me that constantly, man.
That's good, man.
That's cool.
Yeah.
If you could go back in time, what's one thing you would tell your teenage self?
What's one thing, besides, buying a bunch of real estate in 2008, I would say my teenage self, I would just, same thing earlier, hey, just travel. You don't have to, there's stuff outside of San Diego. And again, I'm a big person who learns from other people, right? So a lot of mistakes that I've avoided is because I've seen the OGs avoid them, people in my life, people not in my life. So I think if I would have been able to see the world a little bit more at a younger age, I would have been able to, to learn a little bit faster.
Would you rather have a rewind button or a pause button on life?
Sheesh. Pause. Yeah. Rewind, they say whatever you went through is what made you today as a person. And I love who I am as a person. I think who I am as a person is a combination of so much, man. So many lessons, so many stories. So if anything, I just want to enjoy life more with a pause button for sure.
Cool. What was the hardest decision you ever had to make?
The hardest decision I ever had to make. The thing about life is life and where you're at today is based on a ton of small little decisions that you have to make on a daily basis. So I've had a lot of tough decisions. Let's say when I had a gun pointed at me one time, and someone saying, hey, give me your bag or else you're dead, right? And I had to make a decision at that moment in time. But it was a split decision. So it's not a hard decision because your instincts kick in. So I would say the hardest decision that I had to make was with family. When I had to tell my uncle, hey, uncle, you know what? I'm going to go off and start my own brokerage because my uncle was a broker and I worked for him. And it was just a heartbreaking decision because I had time to think about it. It wasn't a split decision. And this is someone, again, you asked me earlier, who's the most influential person in my life. Well, my uncle would be come close a second, right? Because we grew up in the same house. He was my legal guardian until I was in third grade. And so he would be the one enrolling me in school and doing all those things. So separating business with him was a very, very tough decision.
Yeah. But ultimately, you're happy you made that decision.
I'm happy I am. Either way, I think it could have worked. But I felt that, he's a super savage. This is the guy that got me into real estate. As a 10-year-old kid, I would be rolling with him. He was a real estate agent, 20-year-old, and he'd be rolling around with a strap in his waistband. Wow. And we'd be showing houses. And this is back before like the Century Lock days. So we just had combo codes. As a 10-year-old kid, we would go into houses, go in the fridge, eat, do all that. So this is someone who raised me in the real estate business and in life. So either way it could have worked, but he's such a savage and I'm such a savage that I was like, hey man, like I want to see what I could do on my own.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because we're both like inside of the same household, real estate household. Now looking back, I think we could have blown it the fuck out the water together. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If we would have sat down and said, hey, look it, let's make your thing our thing, instead of me saying, well, you have your thing, let me go create my own thing, so, but either way, worked out and would have worked out either way.
Yeah.
Sweet.
One question I have for you is, what was the hardest lesson for you to unlearn?
So that's something that I'm assuming your question is, what's one thing that took you a long time to get rid of, like a bad habit? Is that kind of
to believe it wasn't true anymore? So like a perspective that you believed to be true at one point. It's something that you believe to be true. It's like a lesson that was taught. For instance, someone tells you, oh, wait, no, rich people are evil, right? It's a lesson that you're raised through as a child. And then next thing you find out, it's not the truth. But it takes you a while to understand that that's not real.
Yeah. I would say, the way I was raised in society was, I think in my life with like women, a big lesson was I always thought it was okay to be single, okay not to share a life with a woman, right? Because, you could have a lot of fun and you could keep doing that. So that's the culture I was raised in. And turns out that that's not the case, and I think I'm meant to share a life with a woman.
Hold up, that's not the case?
You're like, what?
Hey, and to answer your question, that's like a lesson that I'm still trying to unlearn to this day, right? Because I'm not married, you know what I'm saying? But I know I have to get there. So yeah, I would say that.
Yeah. We're all work in progress.
Amen. Yeah, for real.
So, all right. So walk us through. So how did you get into real estate? Through your uncle, but how did you get into the investment side of real estate more than anything else?
So when I started real estate, I was in high school. I started working for my uncle. That's when I actually started walking into his office in a suit. Before that, I was walking into his office, as his kid brother, just, whatever. So my uncle had flipped 1,000 homes at that time, up to 1,000 homes here in San Diego. And so he had 2 Ferraris. I knew there was money in it. And I learned a big lesson in 2008 when the market crashed.
That's the same uncle you grew up with the gun in his pants?
Yeah. And so in 2008, when the market crashed, he, along with other mentors that I had, people I looked up to, lost everything they had. And what I learned at that point in time was that any real estate you own has to pay for itself. It has to cash flow. And he hadn't learned that lesson until 2008. That's when he learned that lesson. So when I first started, I thought flipping was cool, or assignments, or wholesaling. So that's what I was doing. I was making money through assignments or wholesaling. I was a real estate agent at the same time. And then once I learned that lesson, I started buying property, holding on to real estate. And, I started one deal, $50,000. And then I just kept recycling that same down payment over and over and turned it into several millions of dollars, but that's how I started, was first assignments / wholesaling deals, because that's what my mentors were doing and flipping. And then it went into like holding long-term for cash flow.
Yeah. And before we get into that tactical side of it, what are some things that, as a listener, what should they know or need to know to understand what you're about to show us?
So if you're a real estate agent, one problem that I had going into the business, it was like, I'm just thinking in my head, sell a bunch of homes. That's how you're going to get rich. You just sell a bunch of homes, right? So then I got in there just grinding, door knocking, and I have my realtor hat on 100% of the time. And then I start selling 10 homes, 20 homes a year, 25 homes a year. And I'm like, dude, I'm not rich yet. What's going on? Like shit. And then I would go out to the club with my boys and get a table, and I didn't have nothing to show for it. In 2010, when I looked at my bank account, I had $100K, but I didn't have nothing else. I didn't have a house. I was living with my uncle because when my grandpa passed, he took me in, and I was just like, dude, where all my money go? I'm like, okay, sell more houses. I'm trying to sell more houses, and I'm like, this ain't getting me nowhere. So right around 2011 was when I was just like, okay, it's time to just start having something for the future, owning assets, something tangible. I didn't want to look around anymore and say, I don't own nothing. I might have 100,000 with change shit in the bank, but I don't own anything. But now I could really look at my life and say, well, shit, I own 51 toilets, homie, or more, because some of my properties have multiple toilets. You know what I'm saying? I own 51 roofs and fucking probably like 200 faucets. and those are like tangible assets that I own, and instead of having them all in the warehouse, I have them spread out into actual properties. So now if I look back and I see all that, I don't feel bad anymore. Where in 2010, I was just like, bro, like what happened to I don't have nothing to show for all this work, all these door knocking sessions. It was just the most terrible feeling. So I think every real estate agent out there, the reason why you get into real estate is what? Freedom, flexibility, right? And once you begin real estate, you figure out if you're trying to make money, there ain't no freedom.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
If you want to do it at a high level, yeah.
If you want to do it at a high level. So as a real estate agent, understand that, yes, you have your realtor cap on, but there's other caps that you can put on.
Yeah.
There's an investor long-term hold cap. There's a flipper cap. There's an investor hat. So there's like different things that you could do within real estate while you have your real estate agent business.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the biggest lesson for me, which I think sums up what you were saying, is just so many agents will make, we'll sell 20 homes, 40 homes, 60 homes, 100 homes, whatever. And they keep making this money, and then they just keep upgrading their lifestyle, right? Mm-hmm. So they'll, buy a house, buy a car, buy a boat, buy this other stuff, buy, the watches and all the crazy stuff. And then, every year they're upgrading. But you have to, like you said, you have to look back and say, well, what do I have to show for it, mm-hmm. right? If I, God forbid, I was to get sick or my family got sick, do I have any passive income? And until you start making money while you sleep and overnight without doing anything, whatever that may be, by buying real estate or creating some sort of passive income business, then in my eyes, you're not really doing much. You're just chasing deals.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what was interesting for me. And if I remember correctly, you don't have any partners or very few?
No.
None.
Yeah. So, 51 doors out of the 51, 46 are mine.
Yeah.
And then there's 5 that I have partners with, family members.
Yeah.
But that's the beauty about my life, right? So I don't have to answer to nobody.
Yeah.
I make all the decisions. It's all my money. I ain't got to worry about paying nobody or responding to someone. Right. And that's true freedom. That's true flexibility.
Well, I just wanted to squash that from the beginning, because I think people will hear 51 doors and they're like, all right, well, you probably partnered with your rich uncle or your buddy who's got a hedge fund or something. But from what I remember, again, this is all, your own capital just being recycled, refinanced, Burr method, creative financing, sub-2 assignments, all that stuff. So
that's a good little comment you said, because a lot of people would look at someone and say, well, yeah, they have rich family. They have, other people's money or whatever. It's like, I have none of that. I grew up from nothing in the streets. I learned a lot of lessons. I just learned how to grind, So when my uncle said, hey, get your license and you can make a lot of money, and all you have to do is just like, pick up the phone and door knock on people, I was like, that's it? I'm like, and you get paid 10 grand to do that? I'm like, heck yeah, like sign me up. There's no fear in it, because I experienced so much other shit that's like, that to me was a cakewalk. So yeah, now I live in a really nice crib, which I don't count as one of the 51 doors. I have crazy views to the ocean. I mean, people walk in this house and they're just like, what? I travel 2 to 3 months out the year. Right. Travel 2 to 3 months out the year. I go on vacation for 30 days at a time. I live one of the best lives that I know, like of people that I know, right? Because I also know people with a lot more money than me, but they never been nowhere. They never traveled nowhere.
Right.
They have really nice cribs, but it's like they're not experiencing the world. I travel the world to Michelin star restaurants and pay a lot of money just to experience like really bomb food.
Nice.
And I think every realtor out there could do that too. And let me share some tactics. That way,
I'll just say this much. I knew Voltaire was from the streets when he said, I got a gun pulled at me. And the guy said, hey, give me your bag or you're dead. When it was very calm and the reenactment was very chill. It was a normal occurrence. It's like, yo, give me your bag or you're dead.
No. And that was the crazy part. That's a different story for another time, man. But I have stories on stories where you had to just make quick decisions. And so real estate to me is easy, man.
So if you're listening to this, there's an actual presentation that Voltaire is sharing with us right now.
So jump on YouTube and watch that version.
Here we go, man. All right. So I'm going to hit the slideshow button. So I have a presentation called The Formula to Your First $1 Million. So the definition of a millionaire is all your assets, excluding your personal residence, minus all of your liabilities. If you have $1 million at that point, then you're a millionaire. But it's not. And this is confusion between realtors is grossing or netting $1 million a year from real estate commissions, right? Because a lot of people talk GCI; those are fake numbers, and they call themselves a millionaire real estate agent. That's fine, but the true test is: do you have $1 million in the bank, or are you worth $1 million?
Million liquid.
Yeah, this is something about me. I did have 52 doors. I sold one last about 2-3 weeks ago. So I'm at 51. At 32, I became a self-made millionaire. One cool thing I like is I've given away over 100,000 to charities, like a lot more than that. I lost count, but I like doing that. So let me go into the tactical thing. Okay. So here's the formula. This is what you need. You need to build a team around you. You need finances, or we're going to talk about finances. We're going to talk about your realtor commission income. I'm going to tell you how I made my first million, and then identifying a deal, comfort kills, and a sense of millionaire advice. So, John, I don't know if you want me to go into everything or just how to double up the money.
Yeah, I think it's tactical. We could like this part's about building a team, making sure you have a good accountant, financial advisor, good people around you.
Okay, would you be able to share this slide as well, that we'd be able to add it to the description?
Yeah, definitely. I'll share whatever you guys want me to share. So first, I'm going to show realtors out there that you guys could do it. How can you do it? Look, in San Diego, the median price home is $850. You make 2.5% commission when you sell a home on average. So all you need is 16 sales a year. You'll gross $340 minus what you pay your brokerage. In my case, EXP, you net $321, and minus work expenses, that's 30%. Then you net $225. Okay, at $225 net income, you qualify to purchase a duplex. Easy, right? So all you need to do is sell 16 homes 2 years in a row. Then the lender will give you money to buy your first $1 million duplex. Cool.
All
right. So now, this is how I made my first million right here. This property in 2014 I bought. It was a 3-bedroom little junky house in a junky part of town. Not to offend anybody. And I bought it for $200,000. I put $50,000 down, which is 25%. Now the cool thing is, after I fixed it up, I put $30,000 into it. I am probably a little less, but a year later I refinanced it, and the bank gave me $70,000. So they gave me my $50,000 down payment plus some of my fix-up costs. And with the 70,000, guys, I went and I put a down payment on this property number 2, $46,000 down payment. And I fixed this one up as well. I bought it for $230. This is in the neighborhood. I grew up in the hood. And a year later, the bank gave me $125,000. So I did a cash out refinance. Some people call this the BRRRR method. I didn't even know I was doing the BRRRR method, which is buy, remodel, refinance, and repeat. Until somebody said, hey, that's the BRRRR method. I go, what are you talking about? And this property I still own. And then what I did was, with that money I took from that property, I bought property number 3, right? And I bought it for $239, a little single family house, 3-bedroom, 1-bath. And I used this property, I put it as collateral to buy property number 4, which is like a little beat up house.
When you say collateral, just clarify what you mean by that.
I got a hard money loan, and I used this property. I put it up as collateral, and the bank gave me money to buy this one.
Yep.
And I bought this one. It was falling apart. I needed everything new, so I bought it for really cheap, for $120. Put $100,000 into it, and that was the first time I used permits to pull or to actually remodel anything. And then in 2017, I pulled all my money out of this deal with a cash out refinance. So
the cool part, all your money out on that one.
Yeah, pulled all my money out on this one.
So let's just pause real quick. So that's 4 single family homes. Just tell us real quick, like, most of those you found off market. Did you find in the normal scope of you being a listing agent? Did you initially go there as a listing appointment? How did you find some of these?
Great question. This one, they called me on a flyer, and I went on a listing. And then when they said what they wanted to sell it for, I said, can I buy it? They said yes. they gave me seller financing. That was the first one.
Mm.
The second one, an agent brought it to me. It was actually my uncle was going to buy this one. He decided not to buy it, and an agent brought it to him, and off of a flyer that they sent. And then he passed on it. So I gave him $5,000, and he sold it to me for $5,000 plus the, $225. So I paid $230 all in. That's how I bought that one. This one, some guy in LA sold it to me. He was the owner. He inherited the property. He called me off of a letter in the mail that I mailed to him. This one, this guy was outside his house just painting. And then I saw him painting. So anytime I see someone painting or fixing up their house, I stop and ask him if they want to sell. He said yes. And then I canceled my appointment, whatever I was driving to, and then I just ended up buying the property. So all within the scope of trying to get listings. So I was trying to get listings. And then when the people said, yeah, I want to sell to a cash buyer, that's when I stepped in and tried to buy it.
I'll just say one thing there. I think the one thing, when you said what's one thing you wish you could unlearn, I spent so many years just trying to be a listing agent, hunting for listings. And to Kiro's credit, there was times where he was like, dude, we should buy this. And I was like, just go and take the listing. Like when we were doing listings together, I was like, just take the listing. Like, we'll figure it out later. And we should have been buying more stuff. And just because we were so focused on like, just how many listings can we take, how many listings we can take. So what I would tell people out there is always look at it. Should I buy this? Can I wholesale this? Can I flip this? Can I assign this? Worst case scenario, I'll take the listing.
Right. Yeah, 100%, man. And it took me a long time to figure that out too. So this is when it starts to get interesting, right? I buy this property. How did I buy this property? What is it? It's a 4-unit property. It's a 4-plex, 2 bedrooms each. I bought it for $630. Well, what I had to do was I had to trade it, right? So I sold property number 1, this one right here, and I got the proceeds, and I 1031'd it into this property. So I went from property number 1, which was paying me, if you see here, it was paying me, well, it doesn't show here, but it was paying me about $1,600 a month.
Yep. Net.
And yeah, just gross 1,600. And I traded it for this one, which started paying me $6,000 a month because it was 4 units at $1,500 a piece. Well, actually it was $1,795. There you go. $1,795 on that house versus $6,000. I spent about $150,000 to rehab this one. And then the next property I bought was this 5-plex. Okay. And
you kept the 4. You kept the 4 unit?
Yeah, I kept it. Yeah. So this one I got it because I traded property number 3. So I started trading my single family homes. I traded this one, this little 3-bedroom, 1-bath, 800 square foot home for this one. Okay. So it's 5 units. Here are all the rent, $6,700 a month, where that other house I was only making $1,800 a month.
Damn.
And so I started trading houses for apartments. And then this one that I'm right here standing, and Dan Beer, he's part of our group, right? Sells a lot of homes in San Diego. He has billboards. Well, I own this billboard. And he
better be nice to you.
Yeah, exactly, right? And so this one is a commercial corner that I bought. 9 units, 4 garages. I'm building on them right now. So basically the overview right here in 2023 is I invested $50,000 in 2014. I used leverage, aka loans, to purchase good properties at under market values. I kept refinancing my cash out of those properties in order to buy more. And the original 50,000 turned into approximately 2.9 million. But the caveat is this: with other cash funds that I saved throughout that time as being a realtor, I sold homes and I just saved up money. I repeated this method with other properties. So guys, not only do I have this stream of properties, with 50,000, well, I got other $50,000 down payments or 100,000 or whatever, and I invested into other properties, and I kept turning those and doubling up. So the cool part about real estate is that you could double your portfolio every 5 to 7 years by doing 1031 exchanges. So right now I'm at 51 doors, and even if I don't do nothing with those properties right now, 5 to 7 years from now, I'm going to trade them for 102 doors. And then 5 to 7 years after that, I'm trading them for 204 doors, and so on and so forth. So that's kind of what I learned that you could do, because as a real estate agent, I did 1031s for my clients. Yeah. And I didn't know what the big deal was until one time I sat down with one of my investors and I go, hey, what's the big deal between these, just 1031s and whatever. And he looked at my portfolio, and back then I think I had 6 single family homes. And he goes, "You have a gold mine here." He says, "You have to exchange
because you had a ton of equity."
Because I have a ton of equity. And he said, "You have to exchange these one doors for fourplexes and fiveplexes." And so, yeah, they put me up on game, and I started doing it.
Nice, man. Were the apartment buildings bought below market value, or were those at market value during the time?
Great question. That first one that I showed you, the fourplex,
Yeah.
that one went on the MLS. It went on MLS Sunday morning. I was at church, on my way to church, and I saw it pop up because I have, the alerts on my phone. And I saw this fourplex, and it was hit the market for 570, and I was like, "Oh shoot!" And I had told my girlfriend at the time, "Hey, after church, we gotta drive by this property." And then when I showed up to that property after church, bro, there was at least 20 people there.
Wow.
And other investors. And I was like, "Oh my God." And I just, wrote an offer for 630, non-contingent, 50,000 at least, or maybe it might have been more, 100,000, non-refundable deposit, no inspection, no nothing. And they thought I was crazy. Like the agents thought I was crazy. Their broker had to call me and say, "Do you know what you're doing? You're doing like non-refundable deposit, no inspections." I said, "I did my inspection. I walked the property Sunday morning." And long story short, they sold it to me. Now that same property, I just got an appraisal about 2 weeks ago, 1.65 million. And I bought it for 630,000
for 4 units.
4 units, and the garage I converted into an ADU. So now it's 5 units.
Damn.
So 1.63 million. The garage conversion cost me 100K. So 630 plus 100 on the, probably cost me 150 to, so under 900. So I got a ton of equity in there. And the loan, my payment's 3,900, and I make over 10,000 gross a month, and my payment's 3,900 bucks a month.
Nice.
PITI.
Wow, that's great.
So that one was on the MLS. So I would tell the listeners, I would tell the realtors, is like, the reason why I was able to get that property and beat everybody else out was because I knew the market, bro. Because I'm helping so many buyers, I'm helping so many sellers sell, that I know what that property's worth.
Yeah.
Those realtors that got hired, they saw 4 homes a year like everybody else. They didn't know what it was worth.
They mispriced it.
Yeah, they mispriced it. And then the investors, they knew it was good property, but they're not in it like us. That's where we have the advantage as realtors. We have a huge advantage of knowing exactly what these properties are worth.
Right. Now that area, that's not an area you would want to live in, right? It's probably
No, that's the area I grew up in.
Right.
So that's the other thing, is I know that area like the back of my hand. So when I first started investing, I just focused in on my area because I knew it. And I knew other people were scared of it because it's transitioning, it's getting better and all this stuff. So yeah.
So me listening to this, I'm like, damn, that's pretty cool. I want to do that. How do I do that? But in today's market, the average price point for like a house now is like significantly more than what you had. How does someone listening to this take action like tomorrow if they wanted to replicate the same thing?
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this real quick. Have you bought anything in the last 2 years?
I bought 3 properties this year.
Okay.
I took on a 10% interest. I took on a 7.8% interest, and then the other property I bought it cash. Yep. So there's always opportunity in every market, regardless. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So answer Kiro's question then, if somebody wants to get started.
So 2 things I'll mention is, one, I showed in the slide, as a realtor, sell 16 homes a year, and you're able to buy a FHA duplex, $35,000 down for $1 million. Now, when you buy it, it has to make sense. It has to have, like in San Diego, you could convert garages into ADUs, or you could stack ADUs in your backyard. That's what the laws are. So if you're buying $1 million ADU, make sure there's like some meat on the bones. Make sure when you buy it, it's worth 1.2 right off the top. So I don't buy properties are market value. Okay. Meaning my market value, like this home that I live in right now, where you see me, I hit the market. And when I saw the price of 1.6, I knew it was worth more. So when I came to the open house, there's a bunch of people in here looking at it, and I outbid everybody to a point where the appraisal didn't even come in at value, right? I bought it for 1.73, and I didn't care that it didn't appraise, because in my mind, I know it's worth more.
Yeah.
Right. And it was the best decision I ever made. Like super low monthly payment I got on it. I have a ton of equity. It's worth way more. So I think you have to buy a good deal, but you have to know it's a good deal. You know what I'm saying? But to Kiro's question is like, sell 16 homes a year, qualify for a purchase, and buy at below market. And as a realtor, you should be able to do that.
Yeah.
And what I would tell people too is don't pass up a good deal just because you may not have the money or the down payment to do it right now, right? There's always a creative way to do it. Come to any one of us three and we could try to help you find a deal. We'll find a way to fund a deal that you're looking at, right? Whether that means we partner together, whether that means we introduce you to a hard money lender, whether that means we help you think differently to find a private lender in your life. Everybody's got somebody in their life, whether it's an uncle, an aunt, or somebody that you can lean on and say, hey, listen, would you give me $25,000 or $50,000 for 6 months? I'll pay you back in 6 months or 9 months, whatever it ends up being. You know, and you could either pay them back plus interest, or if you have to, partner with them, right? And then they're going to get a piece of the upside. But either way, don't pass up a good deal just because you may think that you don't have the money, because you do have access to the money. You just have to think differently. Yeah. Grant Cardone always says, commit to the deal and then figure out the rest later, right? We've all seen those deals where it's like, shit, 10 units, $3 million. We're like, yeah, we'll take it. And you're like, how are we going to get the money for that? Yeah. But you figure it out.
Yep. Yeah. You don't have to know it all. You don't have to understand the plan 100%. Just, have some faith. You got to do it.
Yeah. One of the things that you did that I think is super smart, you started off with single families. And when you started going into that tangent, I was just like, single families. But realistically, single families are appealing to primary end users. And if a primary end user needs to do that much renovations and they don't have that much liquidity, there's an opportunity to buy it below perceived market value of what you think it's going to be worth when it's completed. So I would probably frame it in the way of, if you want to find a property that's below market, find something that doesn't fit the market, like a single family house that's in disrepair. That way you can add forced value by doing renovations, and then you could add on from that point on. I think that was a smart ass idea, by collecting those 6 before you decided to upgrade into the apartments.
Well, check this out. I'll tell you what mistakes I made. If I had to do it all over from the investing perspective, number one, as a realtor, I would have filed my taxes every year, like exactly what I made. Because when I first started trying to buy, I didn't qualify because I wrote everything off like a dummy, like most realtors, thinking I'm smart, and I shot myself in the foot. So number one, I started filing my taxes. Right, that's a mistake I made. Number two, the second mistake that I made that was huge is I didn't buy my primary residence first, because I was like, well, what do I need a house for? Like, I'm trying to save up money. I'm trying to hustle. So I was renting like a not smart person for a long time while I was picking up these properties. So if I had to do it all over again back then, this is when FHA would allow you to buy a fourplex without that rule that it has to pay for itself. So I could have bought a fourplex, my first property, 3.5% down. So now I'm telling agents, buy a duplex with your first property, primary residence. You live in one, rent out the other. Why? Because return on investment is through the roof.
Yeah, house hack, right?
You're only putting $35,000 down, compared to me. Now I have to put 25% down on the same duplex. So your return on investment, you're making the same profit on the equity. Your return on investment just shoots through a roof. So if I had to do it all over again, my first property, I would have been a primary residence
with rental potential.
With rental potential, FHA. Primary residence, whether it's a duplex or a triplex or fourplex. That's what I mean by primary residence. I don't mean like single family home.
Right.
Now, I didn't know, Kiro, that fourplex was better than a single family home until I met this guy. He had 600 units. And I said, dude, can I take you to coffee or something? He said, no, I'm busy, this and that. I said, well, can I come in and ask you questions? He said, okay. I went and asked him questions. I go, dude, how the fuck do you have 600 units? And he tells me a story. He was a plumber, right? And then he bought himself a fourplex, FHA. And then time went on and he got equity, and then he bought himself another fourplex, So his advice to me was like, dude, buy fourplexes. And I go, oh. So that was one conversation. And then when I met with my other client investor, he was like, where he told me, like, dude, you have a gold mine here. Start training them for fourplexes. So fourplex, like the fourplex and the fiveplex that I showed you, bro, they make me so much money. And I still own a single family homes, but they don't make me as much.
Yeah. I think if you were to sit down with somebody who owns 10,000 units, they'd tell you to stop fucking around with those fourplexes.
Yeah, exactly. and
they'd be like, Voltaire, it's just as easy to own 200 units than it is those 4 that you're dabbling with.
It's all perspective, right?
Yeah, right?
Yeah, it's all perspective. So I would say you're right, 100%. So there's going to be a point in time, guys, where I have to trade my fourplexes and fiveplexes for 8plexes and 12 plexes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then once I trade those, then I trade in the future those 8 to 12 plexes for 24 to 30 plexes, you know?
Everything you said, so it makes sense in the realtor's perspective. I think the one thing that remains unknown is the financing aspect of it, because that's the part that's so elusive. That's, you know, you need to like understand it fully to feel comfortable with it.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain a little bit more about the financing parts?
Sure. So I love FHA, financing with FHA. The banks will allow you to have 10 residential mortgages before they cut you off. So the race is to 10. So try to pick up as many properties up to 10 mortgages, and then from there you go commercial.
Yeah, and there's nothing that says you can't move every year.
Right.
And unless I'm wrong.
So, no, every 12 months you could buy FHA. Right. So you can move and move and move. Now, there's some parameters around that or whatever, right? If you can't go FHA, you might go conventional. But to answer your question is you need obviously show your tax returns. You need a good business. So one huge reason why I was able to do this, guys, was because the banks were loaning me money. Why were they loaning me money? Because they see my tax returns. They go, this guy, he makes good money, right? So as long as you earn as a realtor like 175,000 net or higher, the banks will lend you money. You know, so you make sure you have to sell as many homes as possible, not so you can spend the commissions, so you could qualify for any loan you want. So right now I could go to any bank I want. I don't have no debt other than mortgages, right? So I could walk into any bank and just say, hey, I want a loan for this or that. They'll give me. And that, dude, that's gold. Because then you could buy real estate with that, with all that credit that the bank wants to give you. So, Kiro, to answer your question is like, I love using primary residences. So that's one stream of income, okay? So you buy one primary residence, a year, 2, 3, 4, 5 years later, you move out. You buy another primary residence with little down, 3%, 5% down. And you keep doing that. And then you keep holding on to those properties. You don't sell them. That's one stream of income. And then you have your other stream of income, like you saw mine, with 20% down, 25% down, and you just keep doing that over and over, refinancing, doing the BRRRR method. And then as you're making more commissions as a realtor, you save up your stack of cash, and then you put as a down payment, start another stream of income. So hopefully you have a bunch of streams of income over time, you know, properties that you bought. Oh, the big mistake, I didn't buy my primary residence loan until 2018, 2019. Like, I was like, dude, what have I been doing? Anyways, yeah.
No, that's smart. But how did you fight the temptation of the fast money with the flips, not flipping the property?
Because I saw what happened to my uncle and all my mentors in 2008.
Yeah.
They were flipping and they got caught with the tied out and they weren't wearing no draws. And that's what happened with them. You know what I'm saying? So I know I'm not, dude, I didn't go to college. I know I'm not smart enough to predict or understand what's going to happen in the future. So if I own 1 or 2 or 3 flips that I'm trying to, you know, gear up because I'm buying on speculation, because all of a sudden I'm a speculator, I'm gambling, homie. So if I'm gambling and the market crashes, we go to war with whoever, you know, and then everything pauses, I'm stuck with a vacant house.
Yeah.
And then if I put a tenant in there in a brand new flip that I just put, now they're fucking up my flip. I'm losing money because I'm probably using hard money to flip that property. And I'm losing, you know what I'm saying? And then all of a sudden I get behind on my bills and I lose my ass like everybody did in 2008. So I still have that fresh in my mind.
Fair enough. That's all it needs to happen to know that.
Yeah. And I'm patient. I understand that real wealth is created over time.
Yeah.
You know, so I recently went back to flipping 60 days ago. Okay. Why? Because I have millions in real estate. All my bills are paid off. Like every single month, I have enough rent coming in to pay off all my bills. And I still have a lot of money to save over. So now what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to build my liquid reserves, right? So I just recently hit over liquid net $1 million. That $1 million I'm going to use for flips.
Yep.
And that $1 million, I'm going to flip from 1 to 2, 2 to 4, just like I did with my properties. These properties I'm never going to touch again until I start doing 1031s. But this cash, liquid cash, I'm just going to keep flipping and flipping. Now, if the market turns and they catch me with 1 or 2 flips, fuck it. But I still got these assets over here that are paying my entire lifestyle.
Yeah.
Would it make sense to pay off some of the debt with the $1 million, take out a HELOC or like a what's it called, a bridge loan, and then paying using those for the flips?
For me, no, because a lot of those loans, they're all 3 and 4% interest rates.
Got it.
You know, so it doesn't make sense paying any of that money off, because those are assets within themselves, because interest rates right now for investors are at 7%. So it doesn't make sense paying off 3 or 4% money that I have there. That's a good question though. And I've ran that scenario too in my head. Like, okay, should I do that? Should I cash out on some of those properties? But that's why I sold that 52nd door. The reason why I sold that 52nd door was because it was an infill lot sitting there vacant, not making me money. I'm paying property taxes on it. And I said, what the fuck am I doing? This is not what I learned in the past. This is how you get hurt. You know, and even though I didn't have a loan against it, so I just sold it. They paid me $585 cash, 5-day escrow. I took it. So now I'm going to make that money work.
Got it. Nice.
In the balance of our time here, can you talk to us about I know you've done a couple sub 2 deals. I know that's a little bit out of the spectrum of what we've been talking about, but I know you had 1 or 2 cool assignments or subject to deals.
Yeah, I did a really nice subject to deal. So subject to, for those people that don't know, is when you buy a property subject to the existing financing, AKA you buy the property and the property comes along with the mortgage. It doesn't get paid off. So you take over the mortgage. Last year, someone approached me. They said, hey, do you want this deal? It's $665. I go, okay, cool. And I look at it. It's a $900,000 home, $1 million neighborhood. And I go, I'll buy it. And they said, okay, this is the way. I have a $515,000 mortgage on it and at 3.5% interest. Do you want to pay it off in like a regular deal and just, you know, and the seller is going to keep 115,000 net, or do you want to just keep the mortgage on there and just give me 115,000? I'll sign the deed over to you. So I said, fuck, 3.5%, 30-year fixed. I said, keep the mortgage on there. It's still under the seller's name forever. And I gave her 115,000. So I just picked up this property for $665. The PITI on that deal, by the way, guys, is $2,700 a month.
Damn.
The rent is $5,200 a month. Now the beauty about that,
did you inherit a tenant or you went out and got your own tenant?
I inherited the tenant.
What the hell's wrong with this lady?
Well, she wanted the money. She needed the money, and this is the other issue.
She needed, just to clarify, she needed that 115 or whatever you paid her. 150. That was more beneficial to her than the 3,000 net cash flow.
No, well, this is the other issue, that she had a problem. Her problem was that she was in foreclosure with, how much was it? I think it was like over 55,000 and like basically she had to pay. She had to pay 55,000. So what I did was I worked out a deal with the bank. Okay. So the bank it was more than 50. It was over 100K. So the total balance on the loan was 515, and I had to pay it down to like 400 or something. And they gave me 1 year to do it. So I worked out a 12-month plan where every month I was sending the bank $5,500 every single month for 11 months. And then on the 12th month, I sent in, I think, $40,000 or something like that. And so I caught up. So I'm current now. So all in, I'm at 665. She walked away with 150, didn't get foreclosed on. And I got this great deal.
And you got a tenant in there.
Yeah, and I got a tenant in there, and $1 million neighborhood. Like, what more do I want? It's cash flowing, $3,000 or what is that? No, over $2,000 a month. You know what I'm saying? It's a good deal.
Yeah, I think when I saw you, I forgot where we were, maybe Vegas. You were like, yeah, I literally use her login. Like I've never done a sub 2. I've heard a lot of people doing them. Yeah. I'm very interested in them. I would love to do them. He's like, dude, I just log into her account and I make sure the mortgage is paid, right?
Yeah, every single month. So, that's how we closed the deal. We got together in front of my laptop. She logged in. She told me their login passcode. I changed it to mine. I chose a passcode, that way she doesn't have access to it anymore. And then from there, I just started paying the bank, connected my direct deposit and took it from there, man.
And I'm sure at first, was she open to the idea of you taking over her payment, or she was probably like, wait a second, how do I know you're actually going to pay it?
She didn't care.
She was damned
She
if
was
she
just
doesn't
like,
either way.
So she was for getting foreclosed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So did you get an attorney involved to get all the paperwork straightened out?
no,
No.
escrow. I guess over here we use escrow. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we still went through a normal closing process. Normal. So we make sure that she didn't owe like the IRS and all these things. So it was a clean title, but it was just, I took it on subject to the existing financing that was going to remain.
If you're an attorney and you're in New Jersey and you do sub-twos, please let us know. We would love to connect with you.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's
they're
nothing
great.
like that
They're
here.
awesome. For sure. And then just yesterday, or last week, I sold a 23-unit apartment complex to a buyer. I was a listing agent on a subject to deal, right? 3.75% interest, which doesn't exist. And
On a commercial.
Why didn't you buy it?
because they called me, they as a listing agent. And when I went in as a listing agent, we went at a higher price. But as we went with the marketing stage, that's when the price started dropping. And then by the time, we figured out the sales price, I was like, oh shit, with the subject to. So the subject to came in way later. At first it was just a traditional, but the buyer's agent brought in and said, hey, what do we do a subject to? And what about this price? And my seller already had picked out a property somewhere else. So anyways, I was a listing agent on it.
How did the buyer's agent know that the existing debt was favorable terms? I imagine he just asked you.
He had asked me the deal. That guy, a buddy of mine, he's been a broker since like the 80s. So he's very experienced, like OG, you know what I'm saying? So he's done them. Back in the day, they were doing them like whatever, like normal, you know what I'm saying? So that's where it pays to be in the game for a long time and have deals under your belt. So he's the one in escrow. He helped his client out. He basically said, hey, dude, why are you going to take on the 6%? Let me talk to Voltaire. And it wasn't even 6% at that point. It was like 7% interest. He's like, let me talk to Voltaire and see if we could do a subject to. So when he brought it to me, I go, yeah, let's do it. Let's close it.
What did he come out of pocket? Cash?
$2 million. So the subject, it was $3 million, bought it for 5.25. So 2.25 million he bought it. So he put about 40% down.
Still a great deal.
Yeah, but it's cut his interest rate in half.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome, man. Well, listen, this has been incredible. We really do appreciate you spending some time with us today, and I think people will find this wildly beneficial. And any other realtors out there, again, that are struggling to invest in real estate while you're working in real estate, it's something that I wish I did a long, long time ago. Other than just dabbling, 1 or 2 things a year, like really, really investing in a big way.
Yeah, 100%. This is the way that you get freedom and flexibility, is by owning real assets that pay for your lifestyle. It isn't being a real estate agent for the rest of your life. So you're a real estate agent in order to make enough money to qualify for loans and have down payments to buy your assets for the future.
And Voltaire, if someone wants to reach out, connect, or collaborate with you, what's the best way to do so?
They could hit me on my IG, Voltaire Lepe, if that's my handle, or they could just call me, 619-300-9675. And if you have a referral in San Diego, I'll take really good care of your clients. But yeah, hit me up. Appreciate you guys.
Appreciate you.
Awesome, man. Thank you again.
Real quick, can you just say, Light It Up Podcast is the shit, homie? Just, can you yell it at the camera when you're ready?
Light It Up Podcast is the shit, homie.
There you go. Yes. I just love the way you say homie, so it's perfect.
For sure. Hey, thanks for having me on.